It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as Ring of Honor have moved an upcoming show due to rising cases in the state of Florida. Former AEW wrestler Jimmy Havoc has got himself a new job outside of wrestling. And we look at if an AEW wrestler has been suspended following a recent controversy. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first... The next episode of AEW Dynamite is live tonight from the Steel City for the first of two shows this week in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with this Friday's AEW Rampage premiere also taking place there. For Dynamite, there has been 6 matches confirmed, which include Nyla Rose accompanied by Vicky Guerrero taking on Chris Statlander, who will be joined by Orange Cassidy. Cassidy returns later on in the night in a trios match, teaming with Wheeler Yuta and Chuck Taylor to take on Matt Hardy and Private Party. There will be another trios match as Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks take on Dante Martin and the Sydal brothers. Darby Allin will wrestle 22-year-old prospect Daniel Garcia, who looks like he could have a big future in AEW if he sticks around. Then Chapter 4 of the 5 Labors of Jericho will be going down as Chris Jericho takes on Wardlow, and if he can beat Wardlow, he finally gets his hands on MJF, who will be at ringside for the match. And finally, the Impact Tag Team Championships will be on the line with the Good Brothers defending against Dark Order's Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. This follows the Dark Order and Hangman Page's loss to the Elite, which ruled them out of an AEW Tag Team title match. As well as this, Kenny Omega has been confirmed to be appearing on the AEW Rampage debut episode this Friday, with AEW Plus on Fight listing him as set to be in action. That's Rampage this Friday, but make sure you stay tuned to the channel as we'll be bringing you a more in-depth preview of Rampage later on in the week. On last night's episode of NXT, 2 matches were added to the card for the upcoming TakeOver 36 show. First, the $1 Million Championship will be on the line as LA Knight will defend against Cameron Grimes in their 3rd match in NXT. The stipulation states that if Grimes fails to win the title, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase will become LA Knight's butler, and in the storyline, Grimes currently works as Knight's butler after losing at the Great American Bash. A second match was announced for TakeOver as Adam Cole will take on longtime rival and former stablemate Kyle O'Reilly, and the match will be known as the Undisputed Finale. This concludes a trilogy between the two men, with both of them having a victory over the other. The match will be a 2 out of 3 falls, with O'Reilly picking the first stipulation, who went with a standard pinfall or submission match. Cole chose the second stipulation and decided upon a street fight, and finally NXT General Manager William Regal chose the 3rd stipulation, who stated that the final fall will take place in a steel cage. This is expected to be Adam Cole's last match in NXT, who is likely set to put O'Reilly over on his way out. Cole's WWE contract is set to expire after TakeOver, which is on SummerSlam weekend, and he has been offered a role on the main roster should he decide to stay with the company. There's also the very real possibility of him jumping to AEW to join his girlfriend Britt Baker and his friends in the Elite, but it's currently unknown which path he will take. A spot on the main roster may have been enough to persuade him to stay. These announcements mean that there are now 5 matches confirmed for TakeOver 36, with Ilya Dragunov set to challenge NXT UK champion Volta for the title in what should be an excellent match. Raquel Gonzalez will defend her NXT women's title against Dakota Kai after their recent split, and Samoa Joe will wrestle for the first time since February 2020 in an NXT championship match against Karrion Kross. WWE's Matt Riddle is known to have backstage heat with Bill Goldberg, with the former UFC fighter criticizing Big Billy on multiple occasions, calling him out for his limited moveset and his short matches. After SummerSlam 2019, footage of the two men crossing paths surfaced, with Goldberg telling him that he's not Riddle's bro, with there said to be legitimate heat from Goldberg. Riddle recently spoke with Sportskeeda to discuss the off-screen rivalry with the former WCW champion and said, "I think he has the belief and it worked for him. All he needs is a couple of moves in wrestling to be one of the best, and he has the spear and the jackhammer. My philosophy is you gotta be good at everything. You gotta talk, you gotta be able to walk, you gotta be able to grapple, you gotta be able to suplex, you gotta be able to do it all, so we disagree on that." Riddle then revealed another interaction between the two men backstage at a recent episode of Monday Night Raw before Goldberg's confrontation with Bobby Lashley, and he said, I saw Bill the other day before he challenged Bobby Lashley and he was walking to the gorilla position and I was standing there. I was with Damian Priest at the time and he says hi to everybody and then Goldberg comes up to me, gives me a look. He was making a face and then he goes, "Hey, congratulations kid." And I was like, oh man, Goldberg is kinda nice. So I gave him a little handshake and he went out and challenged Bobby and then he was coming out through gorilla again and I was like, "Hey Goldberg, good stuff." And he gave me a fist bump and says, "I only need 2 moves." And I was like, oh man, the guy's still got it. It seems that the heat may be settling down between the two, with Riddle initially wanting to create some buzz online, potentially for a match in the future, but there is no word if this has ever been or will be the plan internally within WWE. He also seemed to take a similar approach with Brock Lesnar, who was said to have told him that they will never work together. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you scroll down and drop a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head towards 20,000 subscribers. But now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. It was recently announced that Ring of Honor were set to hold their Death Before Dishonor 18 event from the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida on September 12th. The company have now revealed that they have decided to move the event to a new, yet-to-be-named location following rising COVID-19 cases in the state of Florida. ROH took to Twitter to say, "Due to the recent COVID surge in Florida, ROH is moving the site of the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view event. Details to follow shortly. Your safety, health, and well-being remain our top priorities. Thank you for your continued patronage." The 18th installment of Death Before Dishonor currently has 2 scheduled matches, the first being the finals of the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship Tournament with the brackets still in play. There is also a Ring of Honor Pure title match set to go down, with the winner of the title match at Glory by Honor between Jonathan Gresham and Rhett Titus set to take on the challenger Josh Woods. Next up, AEW fans may remember a wrestler by the name of Jimmy Havoc, who was signed to the company near the very beginning in February 2019. He's known for his hardcore matches and his staple gun, making his name in the UK for promotions such as Progress and WCPW, before getting recognition in the United States after working for MLW. Havoc was released from AEW following the Speaking Out movement last year. This release followed counseling and addiction rehabilitation believed to have been funded by AEW. Whilst the 2017 CZW Tournament of Death winner has stayed away from wrestling since this happened, it seems that he now has a new, less hardcore job. A photograph of Jimmy has surfaced with him wearing a DPD t-shirt, which suggests he now works as a delivery driver for the International Parcel Delivery Service. There's also been rumors in the past that he was spotted working for Amazon Prime with the same role. It's doubtful that Havoc will ever return to wrestling, but at least he's got himself something to do. Not only that, but hopefully he's been able to conquer his demons. As we spoke about in a video yesterday, the Acclaimed were removed from this week's episode of AEW Dark, having originally been announced to be taking part in a tag match against Hunter Knott and Rosario Grillo. The Twitter announcement was later deleted, which led to speculation that this was due to Max Caster's controversial rap last week. We now have an update from Fightful regarding the Caster situation, who have reported that his appearances are on ice right now and sensitivity training is being discussed as an option. It can, however, be confirmed that he is still with AEW, despite him removing any mention of AEW and the Acclaimed from his Twitter bio. Ringside News later piggybacked off of this report and stated that Caster has been suspended for 2 months without pay and must undergo sensitivity training. They likened this to the Sammy Guevara situation, who received similar punishment after an inappropriate joke surfaced from an old podcast. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, who are responsible for the initial report, stating that Caster's appearances were on ice and that sensitivity training is only being considered, took to Twitter distancing himself from the Ringside News report that said he's been suspended and said, "Just to clarify, the report that Max Caster was suspended did not emanate from the Fightful Select report. Thank you." This suggests that the news that Caster has been suspended may well be fake news, or at least it's not something that's being confirmed by a much more reliable source. For now, we're going to hold off on claiming that he's been suspended, and such reports should be taken with a pinch of salt until it comes from somewhere more reliable. However, for now, it seems Caster will remain off television until things have cooled down, with sensitivity training remaining an option that is being considered by AEW. Fightful have reached out to AEW about the situation, but are yet to get a response. And before you go, why not check out my video where I discuss 5 ways that AEW could book the debut of CM Punk.